I just saw a small portion of this movie that I like. It's a movie called The Proposal with Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds. Great little movie, romantic comedy, but I like it. And there's this one scene in particular. I just love this one scene of the movie. In this scene, Margaret is it's either a dress shop or a tailor shop or something like that. Margaret, played by Sandra Bullock, and she's trying on this dress in which she's going to get married to Andrew, played by Ryan Reynolds, and they have to get the dress fitted for Margaret, and it's been handed down or something like that. And at one point, then they're in this shop, and at one point it's just Margaret and Andrew's grandmother, Grandma Annie. It's just the two of them at one point in this scene, and Grandma Annie, played by Betty White, by the way, and they're together. And Grandma Annie says to Margaret, "Oh, good. I'm glad it's just the two of us. I'm glad we're alone. I want to give you something, Margaret. I want to give you something." And Grandma Annie reaches and she gets this jewelry box, and she opens up the jewelry box, and there's this beautiful brooch inside. And Grandma Annie explains to Margaret that this brooch has been passed down for several generations in their family. It's an heirloom. Its value in their family is, of course, it's priceless. You could never replace it. And it has this tremendous sentimental significance to them. And immediately, Margaret is very uncomfortable. I mean, she's really uncomfortable. Because you see, part of the plot of the movie is that Margaret and Andrew, actually, they're entering into this marriage as it's kind of a business deal. It's a twisted story. It has to do with immigration and that, but this involves just sort of a business deal between Andrew and Margaret. They really don't even like each other that much, to be honest, which is part of the humor of the movie. And it kind of involves Margaret. She's Andrew's boss, and she's even kind of taking advantage of him a little bit, although they're both in on the deal. But Andrew's family doesn't know anything about this. They think this is all on the up and up. They think Margaret and Andrew love each other, and they have already begun this process of loving, getting to know Margaret and love her and accepting her into their family, and they're acting in genuine good faith, and they have no idea that this marriage is really sort of a sham. They're being hoodwinked. But now, in this moment, in this scene, in this moment, as Grandma Annie, with total sincerity, makes this very tender and this meaningful gesture of love to Margaret, as she attempts to pass on to Margaret this jewelry that's so precious and so significant to her and to their family, Margaret begins to realize in this moment that this deal with her and Anne, this sort of, again, kind of a callous business deal, it has these ramifications that they really hadn't thought through. They kind of put it all together real fast, and they just hadn't thought through it completely. And now, in this moment in the shop, Grandma and Margaret, just the two of them, now Margaret is realizing that what they're about to do, this is going to break the hearts of these sweet, sweet people. And Margaret is actually kind of shaken in this moment. In fact, Margaret says to Grandma Annie, "Oh no, Grandma, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, but I can't take it. I can't do that." And Grandma Annie's like, "Well, Margaret, don't be silly. Of course you can. You're part of our family now. It's only right. It's only proper that this now belongs to it. Now's the time for this to be passed on to you." And again, Margaret is deeply shaken by this. This is actually it's kind of a pivotal point in the movie. This is actually sort of the beginning of when things in the movie begin to unravel. And I love this scene because it's kind of potent emotionally and yet it's funny too. It's just, to me, really well done. But also, I love this scene because it illustrates something important about love. And there's going to be exceptions to this. I understand there's always exceptions. But in a general sense, when we extend genuine love, real love, when we really extend genuine love to someone, oftentimes it can help that person see the ugliness of deception. Love is a very powerful thing.